How can you stop being defensive in your relationship? And how can you stop your partner from being defensive in your relationship and destroying your relationship? I'm going to answer those questions in this video. I'm going to explain what's happening neurobiologically and psychologically in defensiveness. And most importantly, I'm going to give you some tools and tips to turn it around and change it. Hey, I'm Dr. Don Russell. I'm a psychotherapist, an author, and a professional speaker on the topic of relationships, well-being, trauma, vicarious trauma, trauma recovery. In this episode, I'm going to talk about defensiveness in relationships. And it's really important. It is destructive and it needs to stop. It is what Dr. John Gottman and the Gottman Lab calls one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, which means it is one of the most destructive dynamics in a long-term committed relationship. So basically, it's got to stop. In this video, I'm going to give you tools and tips on how to make it stop. Defensiveness can be denying, minimizing, excusing, and explaining. And basically, it's blame shifting. It's offloading the responsibility for a problem or the relationship away from oneself and usually onto the other person. And so in that way, yeah, it's pretty destructive and pretty harmful to the relationship. So for example, you spend so much time playing video games, we never sit down and talk, or you never make plans for a date, or you never initiate making love or having sex, right? Those are criticisms, and that's a problem. Check out my other video on this channel on criticism and how you can turn it around. In fact, while you're at it, click subscribe, click like on this video because you're going to like it, and fire a comment down below and let me know what you think about this video and the other videos on my channel. Those are examples of criticism, and guarantee those criticisms are going to incite defensiveness on the part of the other person. Those criticisms are going to get defensiveness back. Hey, I'm playing video games just for a little while because I'm tired. I come home from work so tired, I just need a break, and just leave me alone. You can hear the conflict start. Why would I want to sit and talk with you when you just end up starting to complain about all of the things I do wrong and aren't doing enough of? The difficulty with defensiveness is that it's hard to hear the grain of truth in the criticism that's coming at the person. Usually if there's a criticism, there's a little bit of truth in it, and maybe there's just a whole lot of other stuff that is just sort of, attack. But it's hard to hear the grain of truth in the criticism and respond well to the small grain of truth. But that's what needs to happen, refining the criticism, listening for, okay, what part of this, maybe only 5%, but what part of this do I need to take responsibility for? And if you're the one that tends to get defensive, then that is going to be one of the keys, which I'll expand on a little bit. Is there 5% or 10% that I need to take responsibility for and own? In reality, it's not that the complaint itself, the actual content of the complaint or criticism, is so difficult. It's not that it's utterly earth-shaking to own it. The problem that gets defensiveness going is that criticism that comes at the person, inevitably underneath it, it's activating a sense of inadequacy and a sense of shame and a sense of not good enough, right? Because basically, when we're hearing a criticism, even if we're hearing a complaint, what's happening inside is we're getting the message, okay, my partner's not satisfied with me. They're finding a problem with me. They're finding that I'm not perfect, and I want to come across as perfect. And so this is exposing me as being less than perfect. That's inadequacy. And then one layer down, if my partner's not really satisfied with me, if he or she's discontent with me, then that actually brings me in touch with a sense of insecurity in the relationship. My partner might leave me if they're so unsatisfied with me. And that is the raw material, the raw fuel that fires up the defensiveness. I can't leave this imperfection sitting on the table just glaring at me. So I need to counterattack with defensiveness. I need to fight back and defend myself by blame shifting, by minimizing, by excusing, all those tools in the defensiveness repertoire. And furthermore, of course, the problem is that the defensive reaction, all that I just described, right, that criticism leading to a feeling of inadequacy, leading to a feeling of insecurity, threat of the relationship, which is the core dread of the human being, I would suggest all of that is happening unconscious and automatic and emphatic. So it's a strong internal and mostly unconscious reaction. And that's what makes it so hard to change. It's difficult to change things that are below the level of consciousness, but it's not impossible. That's why you're listening to this video. Here's what you need to do if you're the one doing the defensiveness. It takes about 5 seconds. I'm not kidding. Run the experiment. Let me know in the comments if this works or doesn't work. I believe it takes about 5 seconds of pause after you get the complaint or the criticism from your partner. And in that 5 seconds, you do some internal processing. So don't respond for 5 seconds. And in that 5 seconds gives you enough time to engage your cortex and start to let your fight, flight, freeze system settle down so you're not reacting, you're actually responding. And in that 5 seconds, here's what you do. You generate empathy. My partner's unhappy. You generate curiosity. I wonder what my partner actually wants from me. In that 5 seconds, you can get some creativity, some curiosity, some empathy, and some connection. Hey, maybe this is an opportunity to have a connecting conversation. Maybe I don't need to fight to defend myself. Maybe the relationship is not actually in jeopardy. Maybe what's happening with this criticism or complaint I'm getting from my partner is my partner's actually wanting to improve the relationship. Maybe this is actually a constructive initiative that's happening from my partner, and wow, it's just in my best interest to engage constructively back with it. All that is happening, can happen in 5 seconds inside your head before you respond with a defensive counterattack. You can tell just when I describe those sorts of things going on in your head that what I'm inviting you to, if you're the defensive one, is to shift out of sort of that zero-sum game of who's going to win this fight, this conflict. Let's face it, if you win this fight or argument, the prize is self-satisfied loneliness. The prize, if you win the fight, is your partner feels crappy. You, like I say, you get the prize of, ooh, I won, but your partner has like gone into the bedroom and said, I don't want to talk to you, perhaps with a slammed door. So, way to go. You won the fight. Super. Good for you. Be sure to get my sarcasm in that. If you're the one that's prone to defensiveness, count to 5 inside your head. Let your fight, flight, freeze system settle down a little bit. See if you can get your thinking processes online and engage back with emotion, but also with thoughtfulness. Maybe this is a constructive conversation. Maybe I don't need to defend myself. Maybe my ego is not at stake. Maybe there's a grain of truth in what I'm hearing from my partner. Okay, so what about if you're the partner that is getting a defensive reaction from your partner? Well, you're not powerless, you're not helpless. There's actually things that you can do to minimize the chances that you'll get a defensive response and increase the opportunity for a constructive response and a constructive conversation. All right, so what can you do? I'm going to highlight 2 key things, key directions that you can go in to improve the likelihood of a constructive process. The first is to recognize that defensive response happens when a person is feeling criticized and not enough. Rewrite the criticism to an ask, a request, a wish. So instead of you're always playing video games and you never talk to me, well, that's a criticism and it'll get a defensive response, guaranteed, money back. The alternative is, hey, honey, you know what? We haven't really sat down to talk for a little while. I'd love to hear what's going on inside, and I would love to tell you what's going on inside. Would it be okay to take 10 minutes to step away from the video game and let's have a conversation? Or, you never make plans for a date. It's always me that has to fire up the babysitter and make plans for the date. Criticism. Instead, how about, hey honey, you know what? I would love for us to get together, and I would love to feel like you're as invested in our date night as I am. Do you think you could make plans next time for a night out? Another example, you never show me you want me by initiating sex, by doing foreplay, coming after me. You never do that. You make me feel so unloved. Criticism. Instead, hey honey, I really wish that you would come after me sometimes. Demonstrate and show me how much you want me. Asking for what we want is being adult. That's just part of being adult. Criticizing, it just isn't adult. Bottom line, it just isn't adult. So one key strategy, one key direction is to be more clear and more concrete and more positive. Ask for what you do want rather than complain or criticize about what's wrong, about what's deficient, because you don't want to activate that inadequacy, that shame circuit in your partner. It's simply not in your best interest. Second strategy is to recognize that defensiveness, at the end of the day, defensiveness is, as I say, it is because of a sense of inadequacy, and that at its core triggers an unconscious sense of the security of this relationship is in jeopardy. I'm not safe in this relationship. I'm at risk of being abandoned, exiled, sent away as a scapegoat into the wilderness kind of thing. So the antidote, when you recognize that, the antidote, the strategy that you can employ to avoid your partner's defensiveness is be very intentional and clear about your sentiment that the relationship is secure, and communicating that to your partner non-verbally is actually best, because that response of defensiveness, inadequacy, shame, is probably a very, very primitive, i.e. a very young response in your partner. And so hold hands while you're having that conversation. Instead, that's a non-verbal and tactile and very simple and unconscious way of communicating to your partner that they're not at risk. Hold hands, speak in a soft voice instead of a harsh voice, instead of a loud voice, a soft, tender voice, and speak slow. Honey, you never initiate sex. It feels like you don't want me, right? It's kind of demanding. It's kind of, wow, and gets the hackles up. It gets the fur up on the back of the neck. Instead of, hey, honey, you know what? I would love if you just demonstrated how much you want me sometimes by initiating sex sometimes. I would love that. That would make me feel so cherished. I want you to understand that there's things that you can do, whether you're the person that's defensive or whether you're the person that's getting the defensiveness. There's stuff that you can do to turn it around. Let me know in the comments what you think works, what you found works. I'd love to hear. I'd love to have you share in this community so that you're helping other people. And speaking of helping other people, click subscribe, click like, because according to this search algorithm, that will make this video more available for other people that want to improve their relationship. And of course, at the end of the day, you want to help other couples too, right? So click subscribe, hit like, fire a comment, let me know what you think. Above all, have a great day, take care of yourself, take care of each other. See you next time.